Jeff Bond, and welcome back to the Steward Chair, where we bring business leaders insights that go beyond the balance sheet to help you build a more resilient and impactful organization. Today, I'm so excited to be speaking with Chris Carneal, the founder and CEO of Booster, the nation's #1 school fundraising company based in Atlanta, Georgia. Since 2002, Booster has raised over $1.3 billion for schools. Chris and his Family First Leadership have also created a collaborative community for leaders at Virtue Village, which is a business hub designed to foster connection and purpose. It's truly a magical place. And in this conversation, we're going to unpack a key distinction that Chris makes between values that are merely timely and virtues that are truly timeless and character building. And we'll explore what it means to steward your company's culture and people through every season, from unprecedented crisis to flourishing. This is for every leader who knows that true strength isn't just about what you build, but how you endure. And we'll show you how courage and gratitude can be your greatest assets when creating a resilient, enduring business. And before we get started, if you haven't already, please follow this podcast wherever you're listening for future content and consider sharing it with a fellow leader. Thank you. And now let's begin. All right. Well, Chris, welcome to the Steward Chair. It's great to have you.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much.
I've really admired your leadership for so many years now, the way that you have built community we're going to get into here, and the way you serve and you create value for that community. It's such a model for leadership and how you steward your business and how you steward your extended stakeholder ecosystem. So let's get into it. But I do want to start with just kind of the shared definition of stewardship here. And it's okay if yours is a little bit different, but we really view it as a long-term responsibility of a business leader to care for what's been entrusted to them. So whether that's people, a mission, a company, a community, all the above, it's not for personal gain, but for the flourishing of others and the health of future generations. And we believe that we belong to the chair. The chair doesn't belong to us, and we're simply keeping it warm for the next person. So when I kind of go through my definition of stewardship, what thoughts does that evoke in your mind in the context of your business leadership role?
Fabulous definition. Totally agree. The word you used, it's in Chick-fil-A's corporate purpose, but I love the word entrusted. It implies that all of life is a gift and it's temporary. Whether it be money, power, prestige, position, whatever it is, I didn't have it, and one day I won't have it. And so that posture of understanding that it's a gift, whatever I've been given, and I need to be confident in that. There's things I'm good at. There's resources I might have. I don't need to ignore it, but I also realize that I didn't, at best, maybe helped partially co-create some of it for a season, and it's a temporary season. It could all be gone. I learned that during COVID. Every entrepreneur is fully aware that anything could be gone any moment. They remember when it didn't exist. And that word entrusted, it has the word trust inside it, that we need to receive things that have been entrusted to us and then build trust with others. So much is built on trust and relationships.
I love that. It's become more clear to me over time. I did hundreds of these episodes with leaders beforehand, focusing on the idea of servant leadership, which is a common used phrase. And I kind of evolved over time, and it's like a subtle shift, but it really made me think that business leadership is just stewardship, and it's not about ownership. And it really is about just all of those stakeholders, all of the responsibilities we have. It's hard. Business is really hard. And I love how important words are to you. I've seen you shift the way you've deployed your values from values to virtues. And so what was that? What was the impetus of that shift, and why the word virtues?
Sure. Well, I love culture. I love building culture. I love culture being distinctive, and words play a huge part of culture. Whenever anybody listening to this, you have a culture whether you intend to or not. So let's be intentional in creating it. Culture is created either by design or default. So the culture that exists now, if you're unaware of it, it is created by default. If you're going to design culture, it needs to be intentionally created, crafted, and curated. And words are a big part of culture, just like they are when we talk of culture in the broad sense. Cultures of different countries or places we visit, often they have their own language. And beyond just actual oral or written language, there's body language. There's a whole host of ways in which we're communicating constantly about what matters to us. So for years and years, Booster had 15 years, we had company values. I loved them. I chose them. I read a book. It said, here's 100, narrow it down to 20, now 10, now do the hard work and get it down to 5. And I got it down to 5. Integrity, enthusiasm, leadership, results, and community. I love those words. I love those values. But over time, sometimes words lose their meaning or change meaning. I just saw that those words were used far too often by organizations that didn't fully embody those values. I saw Enron had the word integrity, and they're out of business for fraud. Enthusiasm was sometimes interpreted as super extroversion. So I wasn't doing service to my wonderful introverted team members that realized, wait, you can be enthusiastic, passionate, excited, have a spirit inside you, regardless of your personality type. So I thought maybe it's time to refresh the values. I thought maybe I'll add a verb in front of them, or I'll tweak them slightly. So I did a lot of research, started thinking, if I had to do it over again, put my entrepreneur hat on, if I blank slate, 0 to 1, if I started the company today, what would my values be today so that they would be as distinctive and unique as I knew our culture to be? And in reading, I stumbled across the ancient word that I hope is becoming used even more now. The word was virtue. And to me, there's a huge distinction between values and virtues the deeper I got into understanding what virtues were. Primarily, the fact that virtues can be timeless, not just timely, not just what does my company do in the marketplace for the next 5 years. That's super important. That's strategy. But I want to have lasting values that are character building for a person, even if they're not in my organization. Did I steward their time as a team member in such a way that when they leave me for another vocation, or when they leave me at 5 p.m., do they go home more joyful, a better, more holistic, healthy human? So I want an integrated set of character building traits. And to me, the only place to look for those was virtues, not just values.
Mm. Take me back to that moment. Where were you? What was the aha moment? And what were you reading? And what was kind of stirring you up to really start thinking in this way?
Our old office, we often had guest visitors. Probably once a day, I'd have someone visit me for lunch or coffee or business partner or something. And even if they weren't visiting me, I always like to greet guests. I feel like hospitality is embodied with a warm greeting. So I try to high five everybody that walks in the door and say, hey, and be a present leader. If I ever gave a tour of the office, which was often, I designed the office, our old one and our current one, where it would show our purpose, our values, our mission, and then our history, where we've been, and then a preview of where we're going as an organization. So I've built it on purpose to be able to take people through in 7 minutes, a quick tour. And the first thing they saw was those values. And I saw through the eyes of my guests, the customer journey, if you will, that they used to be super intrigued, and they'd see them and they just they'd glance over them and keep moving. And then we'd finish the tour and they'd say, Booster is such a unique culture. What a great organization. But the values didn't come across as distinctive and unique as I knew them to be. And, give me 15 minutes, I could share exactly how they were distinctive. But my job was to pass these values down to our team so that in such a way that they could communicate and multiply it to recruits, to clients, to other key stakeholders. And it had just lost. So I literally remember one day seeing someone's eyes just quickly look, here's our values, integrity, enthusiasm. Okay, that's great. Now tell me about your mission. I thought, wait a minute, this is who we are. This is our culture. It's embodied in our values. Maybe I need to rethink and rebrand or refresh them. And then that led me to saying, wait a minute, we needed a whole new operating system and a new way of talking about them that was a little bit more timeless and a little higher level. That's when we stumbled.
That's incredible that you saw it through your customer, the visitor's lens, not your own, not through the process that you went through before where you opened a book and you had 100 options, you whittled it down to 10 to 5 or whatever. But I think do you think that's kind of the natural arc of a business? I mean, you got to start somewhere. When you're starting, you don't have customers to tell you what your unique values and virtues are. But when you start seeing it through the lens of your stakeholders and it becomes truly authentic to you, it actually tells you who you actually are versus something you aspire to be. And I've heard that on this show before. We just had a CEO from Improving talk about that, which was super interesting. So was that a surprise to you that the customer maybe helped you
No, looking
changed
back,
that
no,
thinking?
I love customer centricity. I talk about the client journey all the time. We just hosted a neighborhood cookout Sunday night in our neighborhood. My wife hosted it. It's amazing how you see the stack of books by the door and the dust on the thing, and because you're viewing it quickly, people are coming over in 2 hours. Wait a minute, you view it differently, or you bring someone to an event of yours, or you bring someone to church, or like whatever you're involved in. You just whenever you have someone with you, you view everything through their perspective, which I think is wonderful. So viewing it, my culture, I want to view it through the perspective of someone that is choosing between us and another organization. So when I saw it through their eyes, it allowed me to think we need to be more just like a product. It's our internal product. Our culture is our internal product, just like our service is our external product for our clients. So seeing it through their eyes, how do I communicate this quickly where they say, I love Booster and I understand who you are and your DNA level?
Yeah, love that. I think it's been a common theme that I want to continue to explore for leaders, especially leaders that have built enduring companies, and how you constantly iterate on your virtues, values, whatever you want to call it in your organization. So thank you for that. Take us back to that COVID-19 pandemic. Now, I know you've told this story before, but many people who are listening now probably have never heard it. So it had an enormous impact on your business. I know, I mean, kind of just went to zero. I'll let you tell it. But I would love, after you tell it, to kind of take us to where you are now and let us know like what you would tell Chris back then. Like if you could port yourself back to that time and say, hey, it's going to be okay, or whatever wisdom you were going to share then. I'd love to hear that perspective as well.
Sure. Well, great question. Just you saying COVID and reminding me I just felt some stuff inside. Oh man, I gotta go
Sorry.
back, gotta gear it up. You just gotta sharpen the sword again. What a rough season. Let me go back just a second and connect the timing. I'm a person of
Please.
faith, so for me, nothing happens by accident. I believe there's a grand creator, designer who has written the narrative that I get to discover daily, and it's better than one I can write. And I'm not the hero of the story. So, being a person of faith, seeing now, looking backwards, wow, the shift from values to virtues happened at the perfect time. It was summer 2019. Booster was at an all-time high, best school year, most money raised for schools, most number of team members. We were profitable, we were scaling, we were launching cities. I rented out the Braves Stadium to unveil one of our virtues. I had my childhood baseball hero, John Smoltz, surprise everybody in the top of the dugout. I had Booster logos in the stadium. It was like this peak company moment. And what I chose to do is unveil 2 different virtues a day. Hey, we've had our values. You can still pay attention, our values still fleshed out through these virtues, but we did 2 a day. So the morning and afternoon session, I'd unveil. So this was our virtue kickoff, summer 19, to our, at the time, about 600 in-person team members. And the 6 virtues, I can go into them later, but I'm building the context. Gratitude, wisdom, care, courage, grit, and celebration. Those are our 6. They're in a specific order on purpose. Because when you celebrate others really well, you usually are left with a sense of gratitude. I'm grateful I get to work with this team, with this organization on this purpose and mission. But gratitude for what I've been given, talking stewardship here, right, is stewardship. It starts to me with a heart of gratitude and the belief, the framework that all of life is a gift. And there's a whole lot of grace that's been given to me. So we have a great fall. 2019, spring, you remember February, of course, Japan was the first country in the world to shut down all the schools. I go to my CFO and say, let's run some scenario. What if we're shut down for a month? There's no way. We have 50 different states. We're diverse and geographically insulated, of course. Well, you fast forward a couple weeks, the worst case scenario became our best case scenario. Schools weren't just closed for 2 weeks to flatten the curve. They were going to be closed the whole month of March, from March 13th through the end of the month, and then till spring break in April, and then to the end of the semester in May. So fast forward, we went 173 days without revenue from March 13th all the way into the fall. Now this is, we were too big to get PPP, even though we were protecting team members' paychecks and paying them. We were too large. We were over the 500 threshold. So we were burning $100,000 a day for 173 days with no revenue. We eventually started to trim that number. But I remember the first week writing on the board, how much cash is in the bank? Let's just go super practical. How long do we have? And we originally had 110 days. And then with a lot of tweaking and different things, we got that out to eventually 210 was the number. And every day I'd erase it. I'd try to grow the 210 number that was 100 and something. And then I'd do all I could to get that 173 as short as possible. But of course I couldn't control it. So every school in America was shut down. No one cared about school fundraising. They couldn't figure out how to even get teachers and students in the same room. And then the toughest part, I kept thinking it was done being tough. It kept getting tougher. But in July, summer of 2020, is when we realized the fall is going to be really rough too. And at that point, we had to finally, unfortunately, resize the company from at the time, 843 team members down to 140. So I had to let go or furlough 700 people July 25th, 2020. That was a rough, tough day. Back to the virtues. I started every day with a heart of gratitude. That I said on podcasts before COVID, I'm an entrepreneur. I remember when nothing existed, it could all be gone tomorrow. I really tried to pursue wisdom in a season that everything was coming at you. I tried to care for my team and our clients in whatever way I could, as loving and as unselfishly as I could. But boy, I had to make some courageous decisions, and they kept getting tougher and tougher. And it took a lot of grit, perseverance, and persistence for 173 plus days. The recovery, we were not back to normal immediately on day 174 either. But then we looked for small moments to celebrate the virtue, the excellence, the hard work, the winning work in our team throughout the whole process. And when we did that, though tough, we'd go to bed at night with a heart of gratitude that, hey, it could have been worse. Here's the battle we're in. We're called to it. Let's fight it with virtue and with excellence to the best of our abilities.
Well, we talk about that a lot on this show, that you can be a purpose-driven, values-driven, virtuous leader, but you're going to get bloodied along the way. And wow, I mean, what a story, and what a time for you. And I'm sure the day of the furlough was one of your darkest days that you've ever faced, despite being a person of faith. I mean, it takes you to new lows. So take me back now to where you are today. Or let's just bring everybody up to speed. Where are you today? And then if you were to go back and talk to your younger self now, I'm sure you've caught some gray hair since then. What would you tell him, and what would you tell him about where you're going from there?
Yep. Through God's loving plan, I feel like I got to hear some of the voices that I would say. I felt like I got to hear some wisdom through other people delivered to me. Even in that moment, I had taken one of my kids on a really cool week-long summer camp, faith-based summer camp in California, father-daughter camp called JH Ranch. It's amazing. I've been 3 times now, a week with your kid. And there was this one moment where you're going down the river, and the river guide, they try to make everything an analogy. And in this circumstance, a spiritual analogy as a faith-based camp. And I'll never forget, hey, we're in the boat. Guys, doesn't this look smooth? Doesn't it look simple? Do you know what's around the bend? Has anyone ever been on this river before? No, we're on the Klamath River, just south of Oregon in northern California. Well, there's rapids around the corner. So I'm going to prepare you. Do you have your life jackets on? When we hit a rapid, here's what I'm going to say, and here's what your response is going to be. When I say left side paddle, do this. Let's practice it. Doesn't this kind of feel weird, guys? Because we're going down a super smooth, calm, beautiful river. There are rapids up ahead. That was analogy 1. And I remember, they encapsulated with this is life. Here's the 3 principles we learned in the river. This is what's going to happen in life. Hey, guess what? We got through it. You listened to the guide. You did it in community. You know what's also up ahead? There's smooth waters up ahead. I know you can't imagine it. We're going through rapids. There's smooth waters ahead. So just the seasonality of life. And I remembered almost daily hearing the voice of that college student raft guide saying, hey, it's going to be okay. I've been down the river before. I know you haven't. There's hope up ahead. You'll be a better person when you come out through the rapids. And I feel like, again, my faith perspective, that was God 6 months in advance preparing me through a summer camp and hearing in many ways his voice that I got to live out. So I would go to bed every day thinking I'm not in control. I've never been in this river before. This is God allowing me to give up some control. As an entrepreneur, we like being in charge and being in control and making the call. But you can only do that to some extent. So it was ultimately very, very good for me. I would have reminded myself even more, you will become a better human going through the struggle. Embrace it. Don't go around it. Stay present. Learn all that you can. And for the most part, I did. I remember taking videos. Here's what I'm learning today, writing down notes, taking pictures of everything. And I go back constantly through my time hop, every year. Hey guys, it's been 5 years since this happened. Hey, 5 years ago today was this. Like, look how far we've come. And we've come a long way. And now we're definitely through COVID. Schools have changed a lot. In many ways, we are not back. People said, are you back? I said, I don't think we ever want to go back. I want to be better, not back, because that implies we didn't learn all the lessons we should have learned. In many ways, the business landscape and the client landscape is more challenging than before for a lot of different reasons. But we're back to about 900 team members. We're the nation's largest school fundraising company. And we've got a lot of leaders that have an MBA in practical leadership because we had to live through a season of challenge and struggle.
Yeah, that's an incredible story, Chris. And thank you for the vulnerability and sharing that. And isn't that so cool that God can speak through someone younger than you in a completely different situation, a college student that's a river guide, and that he shows up so uniquely in those situations. I just think that's really cool, because oftentimes we think, okay, how do we get people who are more seasoned than us, or that could be a mentor, or who have been a business owner before, none of which I suspect that river guide was in that moment, but being open to hearing wisdom in the most unsuspecting places, perhaps, and being attuned to that is really cool. And I think it speaks to like your backdrop here, all the books, your curiosity, your openness to the wisdom around you. So thank you. Tell me a little bit about, and for our listeners, Virtue Village. So this, to me, is one of the coolest business cases I've seen in the city of Atlanta, and maybe even beyond. But just what was the vision behind Virtue Village for our listeners who are unfamiliar? What is it? And what kind of experiences do you intend to curate there?
Sure. Well, I love the word virtue. I just told you why. I also realize that I'm not the only one that's pursuing doing business the right way and desiring a virtue-driven business. A really cool opportunity was brought to me. Again, it was a gift to steward. We had come through COVID. Fast forward about a year or so, the old office felt like a lot of tough decisions. It felt like where we were, not where we were going. We needed a new, fresh start, and coincided that our lease was running up in about 6 months. We didn't own the building, and I really had no intention of owning a building. I'm not in the real estate business per se, and I don't want to think about that. I just want to run our business. Well, we looked at, 30 different properties, basically within 10 to 15 minutes of my house. And what are the options to rent or lease? And there was one building we saw, and it was not for sale. And after visiting different offices, I thought, if we could own it. At the time, by the way, interest rates were 3.5%. This was like the perfect moment in time. Because I love culture, I want to do what I want to do in our space. And we had a great landlord the first time, but that was very rare. I didn't want multi-story. I wanted people's first impression not to be a security guard or other businesses necessarily that weren't connected to us. I wanted you pull in the parking lot I wanted to be able to control the entire environment and create an experience for guests and team members every day. I'm a culture guy, so I want the environment to be right. And the only way really to do that is to own a building. So here in Peachtree Corners, about 10 minutes from my house, a real estate agent took me by. It was all 3 buildings in this complex were owned, one single level, owned by a REIT. And this was the middle building. And I said, hey, Will, I want to walk around. I'm just going to do a prayer lap around this, think about it. And it just felt totally right. Like, this is it. It's private. There's woods on this side. It just feels like it's amazing. It was much bigger than we needed. But I said, let's make them an offer and see. They accepted the offer. We locked in the world's greatest interest rate. We were paying less in rent and mortgage than we were paying in rent in the old building, even though the building was more than twice the size. So it all worked out. But I didn't need, it's 60,000 foot building. There's about 30,000 feet that we didn't need. So we designed it accordingly. But I sent a few texts to some friends and said, when is your lease up, Brett? Andy, how about your lease? Man, next summer. Brett, next summer. Reed, how about you? Man, next summer. What if we didn't just hang out together on Saturday nights with our families or Braves games or church on Sunday or kids' school? Like, what if we worked together? What if our vocational environment was the same space? What if you guys were my tenants and we designed this thing together and worked together? Well, those three said, I'm in, I love it. 3 years later, we now have 32 different offices here in the building, some bigger. Booster's the biggest tenant, our company. Great nonprofit, a movie studio, Leader Pass, insurance company, attorney with 1 and 2 employees. And it's amazing. And it's called Virtue Village because the idea is what unites us is our desire to do business the right way, to make an impact on the world, that business and calling are not separate, that our vocation can come across in our everyday life, that work and service to others and worship can be the same. We can build a business the right way, making the right decisions, and bless our team, and not just our team, but the community. So we had a core member. Your timing's great. We had a core member dinner last night, where the core members, basically the tenants, all shared again what are their goals for the year. How can we help one another? So here's an attorney saying, here's my new service that I'm offering. And someone's saying, hey, I know someone that needs that service. Team members saying, I'm looking for a VP of finance. Does anybody know anybody? So we're collaborating together, the power of connection. We all trust each other, but we do a lot of things that are very unique here culturally. We have micro communities, master classes. I got one of my CEO, Chris, down the hall. Huge in tech, so he's talking about AI, and we're having a big conversation around that next month. Every Thursday, we have a lunch for the community. Any member can invite anybody they want for noon Thursday lunches, so we can just meet and encourage new people. So we got to take a little bit of the booster culture, what made us unique, and then share it and learn from other organizations here at the Village. And the concept of Village is we ask for help when we need it, and we generously give and share, when we have it. And together we get to build something bigger than just the sum of our parts.
That's so incredible. And I think that story of our vocational lives being so separate to our personal lives or our spiritual lives is such a common narrative. I run a workplace ministry here in Atlanta called Grace at Work out of the Atlanta Tech Village, and people are just completely looking for that common ground, that blending of vocational lives, like kind of Paul did, the Apostle Paul did as a tent maker, but was also out there doing ministry work and feeling fulfilled and doing God's work and, doing it in such a way that uplifts. And what I love what you said there is this power of connection. I believe that we're against a common enemy here, and it's human disconnection in today's world.
Totally.
And this is an enemy we all have to battle within our organizations to keep the great talent that we recruit, to keep the customers engaged that we bring on, the vendor partnerships, the stakeholders within your building that you built now. So, you have so many unique ways of creating connection and community that I think are such a learning lesson for leaders. And one of those ways is a breakfast that you run regularly with a leadership talk. It started as an idea and it's become so much more. And I'll just tell you from my perspective, and you tell me from the stage perspective, because you're often speaking to all of us. You walk in, hundreds of people there at 7:30 in the morning. Your team's fired up. They're greeting you at the door. You got name tags printed out. You registered for free online. You got coffee. You got breakfast out. I see people that I know from the leadership community all over Atlanta. The energy's high. There's music. It's a production, but it's welcoming and it's warm. And if it's a nice day, you've got the garage doors open in the back to your lawn in the back. And it's an experience. And you're doing this for free. Well, yeah, actually, it's not free for you. It's free for us. But we're connecting, and it's truly a great place to connect and find business contacts and just relationships. So tell us about that, the power of connection, how you're battling the enemy of human disconnection at Booster and at Virtue Village.
Wow, it's great. I'm glad you enjoy it. Thank you. That's super encouraging. Anybody here that's listening to this is welcome to come. We do it 3 times a semester. It's called Virtue Voices, virtuevoices.com. You can see the speakers and find some details about it. 7:30, 8:30, good hot breakfast, and then 8:30 to 9:30 it's always on Fridays. You're done at 9:30. People will often linger and meet and hang and meet other great people. But you're right. The power of relationship, encouragement. In 2025, there's a whole lot of incredible advantages with our digital technological world. We're Zooming right now. Wonderful. It saved us probably both an hour each of driving and setup. But you can't live life solely isolated in a digital community. You have to have real human interaction, touch, food, meals, conversations. So I don't think any company's got the balance perfectly right, but we're certainly aware of it. I just want to create events, small and large, for everyone to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, whether it be a lunch, masterclass, micro community, prayer lap on Mondays, fire pit Fridays at 3:30 on Fridays, once a month, fall festivals. Some are fun, some are serious, some are for learning, but they're all they're intentionally built for people to connect, either to connect their hearts, their minds, their heads, their hands. And when you do so, it's like you're part of a team. Everyone wants to be on a winning team. And we might not have practice for a sport every day, but this is the team I'm on. And, for the next month, it's called a book club. This is the team I'm on. It's called a masterclass. And I get to listen, learn, contribute, and share. So community has always been important. I feel like we feel one of the deceptions of the age is we feel like we're connected because we have followers or likes or a contact list, but you got to fight intentionally to truly connect. And usually that happens through some sort of community event. And, one of the big secrets is if you include food, you double the attendance. So share a meal, throw out some food, and someone's got to lead it.
Well, not only that, but you bring in some incredible speakers, executive leaders, pastors, authors, really big names. It's been such an inspiration. I love how at the end of it, you pray over the entire audience, where, a lot of people that are people of faith struggle in that boldness. So where does that come from in you?
Yeah, well, I'm very aware. Every time I speak, I remind myself that even if you might look like me or act like me, you might not believe like I do. And that's totally fine. I want to create an environment where this just doesn't exist in America enough, where we can respect each other's differences. So whether someone's of a different faith or worldview or political view, then let's at least respect what we each admire in what matters to us. So I can probably get away with a little bit more on my stage after a free meal if I've done the work and you're coming for free to say I just want to pray. But hopefully people that don't pray see my prayer and think, hey, that was kind, and you know what? I'll take a peaceful prayer of blessing and favor over my life. But I want people to know I want to be true to who I am and what I am called to do, and at the same time be aware that not everybody shares that, and that's totally fine.
Well, I want to affirm you in that I see that level of inclusion very intentionally that you bring to that every single time. I see the room and I know the people who are in there, and not everyone has the same faith tradition or viewpoints on faith, spirituality, the intersection with business, but everybody gets something out of it. I have not ever heard one person say, that wasn't for me. They're just blown away by this experience, Chris. And what you're doing is such an incredible gift to our leadership community. And I'm so excited that you have decided to write a book. So tell us about the virtue-driven business and maybe one principle of stewardship that you hope that the next generation of leaders will take away from this great piece of work that you've created.
Sure. Thank you. Well, I've hosted, it used to be called Boost Leadership, now Virtue Voices, for 7-8 years, with the COVID year putting on pause. And I host it every year, but I've never spoken at it for a couple of different reasons. One, I know a lot of great speakers that are better than me, and I'd rather just showcase them. Two, I speak enough internally to my team. But I wrote a book 60 days ago, and I thought, you know what? I always have great speakers that often have a book. I got one. I don't want to miss the chance, so might as well speak on it. And people have said this is a great opportunity for you to do it. So I'll give a book to anybody that comes. It's called The Virtue-Driven Business. It's a mini book. My friends at Praxis wrote a book about the same size called The Redemptive Business that acted in many ways as an inspiration for this book. Pocket size, fit in your pocket. If you've got ADD, you're a little hyperactive like me, you can read this thing on one airplane flight in less than an hour. It's got pictures. It's got QR codes with links to some videos, recommendations of some of my favorite books that I recommend, pictures of them. It's a quick read. I gave a talk to a business community about back in April, end of April, beginning of May, and one of my best friends, George, was there, and he said, "That's it. That talk, that's your first book." And I've been encouraged to write a book for a while around different things, culture, customer service, I thought, okay, you know what? I think that feels right. Let me just put it together with the goal. I needed a deadline being my company event in 45 days here in Atlanta. You know what? It's about culture. I want to just remind, like I do every year, like I told you in 2019, where we unveiled the virtues 6 years ago. Let me kind of go back to that and double down on who we are. And let me write this book with the audience being my team, but also being aware that other people are going to read it outside of our team. So I thought I'll just kind of let's go for a C+. Let's get this cultural artifact out quickly, to use Andy Crouch's language. And I had such a great team help me, my designers, team members that just kind of helped me put all the stuff that I got to have good content, but if it doesn't look good and feel good, people will dismiss it as not credible. So my team gets a whole lot of credit for the layout, the design, printer that prints all of our booster stuff. So I was more pleased with it, and I could be pretty self-critical of things that I create. I could always do it better, and I know I can. I only printed 3,000. I will eventually publish it in the next couple months of version 2. But as an entrepreneur, to get it out quickly and to be honestly to feel pretty proud of it, and then to know there's definitely a few tweaks I'll make for the next version. But so far, it's been received great. I thought people would say, I can't wait for the real book that's a larger size. Everyone has said, I love the brevity of it. You took out all the fluff. And you know what? If you write another one, I'll read another one. But don't make this one longer. Keep it the same size. So I think there's a hunger for a 1-hour quick read that's really compact and distilled.
Well, I, for one, struggle. I think I'm undiagnosed dyslexic. So a one flight read is like perfect for me. And I know plenty of great business leaders. Shane Jackson's one who's spoken on your stage, who's been on this show, who wrote a cultural artifact for his business that has just helped him transcend into other areas of service and ways that he's blessing others. And he's written his second book recently. And, you creating something from all the ways in which you've been gifting others and your acts of service and love and humility and hospitality over the years is a gift to other people. It's never performative or about us. It's literally leaving this behind for future generations, your children. You got a beautiful family and a great team. And I know they look to you as a leader, and you truly are one, Chris. So thank you for coming on this show. If there was one final parting thought, words of encouragement that you would give to other business leaders today, entrepreneurs, people who are leading business as stewards, what would you say?
Wow. I think the word I would use that's most linked to stewardship is the one I talked about in the beginning, gratitude. Make a gratitude list, maybe before you go to bed or when you wake up in the morning, list or on the drive-in, the 3 things you're grateful for. It's amazing how when you start with gratitude as the first formative foundational virtue, how your whole perspective of life changes. You want to change your attitude, we all know how important attitude is to everything. It starts with the attitude of gratitude first. If we focus on what we're grateful for, the gifts and the grace that have been given us, then all of a sudden the world takes on a new meaning and everything is possible.
Chris, your time was a gift. Thank you for sharing it with us.
God bless you. Thanks so much for having me.
Wow. My sincere thanks to Chris for joining us today. His insights on the power of gratitude and courage are truly a testament to what it takes to lead a business in today's world, not just through crisis and loss, but also through profound seasons of rebuilding and flourishing. And so now, here is your steward's call. This is one key moment that I believe you can take away from the conversation and put into practice today. And this was really profound for me. Start your day with gratitude. In a world that feels so uncertain and overwhelming, it is one foundational virtue that can change your entire perspective and, in turn, the attitude that you bring to your team. And remember, the mark of a leader is not just how you navigate the rapids, as he said. I loved that metaphor, but also how you steward the smooth waters that follow with character and gratitude. And what you do today will always shape the leader that you become tomorrow. So it's an everyday, ongoing responsibility. So if you found value in today's conversation, please take a moment to follow the Steward Chair wherever you get your podcasts. It is the best way to ensure that you never miss an episode, and it really helps us, so we appreciate it. We want to grow this community, so please share this episode with a leader you respect. And a final thank you to our incredible team, our executive producers, Quentin Thomas and Thomas Mastro-Totero, and our managing editor, Daniel Mastro-Totero. They are the true stewards behind this show, and I'm so grateful to you all. And I'm your host and researcher, Jeff Bond. And with that, now go and be a leader worth following.